Hi everyone, good afternoon. It is Sarah Shipton here from Scrapbooking with Sarah, and I'm coming live to you today on Tuesday, January 20 for this week's Technique Tuesday. But this is actually my scrapbooking challenge layout and Technique Tuesday for last week. So we are running 1 week behind for January. For those of you that are playing catch up, I was on holidays for 7 weeks over the Christmas and New Year's period, and we launched some fabulous new products on January 6th, which arrived while I was traveling, and I was only home for a short period of time between our overseas trip and then going camping for some summer holidays, and so I didn't get any time to play with any of my new goodies in between that time period. So thank you all for your patience while I catch up. What that means is that we are going to have a double up of a weekly scrapbooking challenge somewhere along the line. I am waiting on a big photo printing order to be ready, so I'm super excited. And for those of you that I'm seeing this Saturday on January 24 at my summer fun scrapbooking workshop, I cannot wait to share all of the layouts with you. For January, I'm working with the online exclusive. It's called Currently Loving. It's a scrapbooking workshop kit called Currently Loving, and it also has a coordinating suite collection which is called Lovely Blossoms. So it's a little confusing, but I will give you a tip. If you head to my website and then you go to the online store, there is a search function. If you were to type in the word loving or lovely, then all of those coordinating products are going to pop up. Now, you're not going to see this suite of products in your mini catalogue because they are an online exclusive. So you will only see them online, or you can see them in a PDF document, which I did email last week. If you are not on my mailing list and getting my monthly newsletters, please be sure to send me a private message or an email or a text with your email address so I can add you to my database. And actually, I will also upload, I'm not sure if I've done that yet, so I will upload the file into this Facebook group as well, so you can view a PDF document. It's about, I think, 6 pages long, a PDF document with all of the January online exclusives in it. But I'm going to be sharing some of them here with you today. And we've got a couple of people joining us live. I can see Bev's on. Hi, Bev. Thanks so much for joining in. Okay, so for this week's challenge, we are creating a double page scrapbooking layout. And we are working with pattern 3I, the sidebar balancing act, which is on page 48 of this Reflections scrapbook program. Now, this is an old scrapbooking how-to pattern book that I've had on the shelf for quite some time. So I'm going to be walking you through this layout and all of the paper dimensions today during this live. Emily has joined us as well. Hi, Emily. Thanks so much for joining in today. So for your layout, you are going to need 2 sheets of coordinating designer series paper or cardstock. I have used the designer series paper from the Lovely Blossoms 12 by 12 inch designer series pack. I will be sure to post links to all of the products I'm sharing with you today. On the opposite side, this is your pattern. So with this designer series pack, you get 12 sheets of paper, but you get 3 of each pattern. So this is how I've been able to create a double page spread coordinating those papers together. So this is in the lovely old olive. So you will need 2 sheets for your base papers. Then you are going to cut these 2 pieces here. This is piece A for your scrapbooking layout. And again, you can use designer series paper or some cardstock. This was left over from my Currently Loving scrapbooking workshop kit. So I've been able to cut these 2 pieces. You're going to cut them at 3.5 inches by 7 inches. And I've got my stripes running vertically. Okay, so 2 pieces cut at 3.5 by 7 inches. And then you've got this large square photo mat. So this is measuring 7 by 7 inches. I've cut 2 of them at 7 by 7 inches, and this is using the color Crumb Cake, and it is the lighter side of the color Crumb Cake, and that's enabled me to get my photos on that square. So these are all cut at 3 by 3 inches. These are also at 3 by 3 inches. And then the last piece that you are going to cut is your sidebar, which I have running through the inside of my scrapbooking layout. So I have opted to work with the master pattern here and then just create a mirror image of that particular pattern. So this bit of cardstock running through the middle here, that is cut at 11 inches in length by 3.5 inches in width. And this is using two-tone cardstock, Old Olive. I'm pretty sure that was Old Olive. Let me just double check. Yes, it's Old Olive cardstock. And I have embossed the Old Olive cardstock with this new embossing folder. This is called the Lovely Stripes embossing folder. So this is part of the online exclusives. And again, you want to have a think about which way your cardstock is up, because that's going to determine the pattern that you're going to get. So here I've actually used the positive with the stripes, but if I was to turn my paper over the other side, then you're going to get the positive with the dot border. Okay, so you'll get to have a close-up look at that this Saturday at my workshop. And let's talk about now the paper placement. So you've got your 12 by 12 as your base. These two pieces are going to be stuck a 1/2 inch down and a 1/2 inch in. And then this square here is also going to be stuck at a 1/2 inch in and then a 1/2 inch up. And then this strip through the middle is also going to be placed 1/2 inch in and then 1/2 inch up. And then you can see that you've got this really nice cohesive pattern with this sort of 1/2 inch border running all the way around the outside, and then these 3 paper dimensions pieced inside here. Okay, now in terms of my journaling box, which is always really important, in the master pattern here, the artist has actually journaled straight on the cardstock. However, because I embossed my cardstock underneath, let's take this out of the flip flap for now. Because I embossed my cardstock underneath, I've actually cut some Crumb Cake paper. Now this is 3 inch in width to match the width of the photo above it. And off the top of my head, actually let's get my Versima out and we can quickly measure that. So 3 inches in width, and it was 6 3/4 in length. Okay, and then I've actually stuck that on top with some Stampin' Dimensionals. So because I've embossed this bit of cardstock here, just to make sure my photo really pops and stands out as my journal box, I've used my Stampin' Dimensionals to pop underneath there and just help lift that a little bit. And so you're still really getting the vibe of the embossed cardstock underneath, but it's just making sure that my photo and my cardstock doesn't get lost there. Okay, so for my journal box, I have ruled lines at 1/4 inch, just using my 0.4 mil black journaling pen to do my storytelling there. I've cut out my title using the mini alphabet dies, which I love. So there wasn't a huge amount of room. I could have used some larger dies for my titles, but I didn't want that taken up with this beautiful embossed paper. I really wanted this to shine. So I already had some letters pre-cut in an organizer with the white willow cardstock. So I've actually just stuck the title Darwin on there using my adhesive. Now, last week I featured this gorgeous cloud cover textured ribbon in our Technique Tuesday. So we wrapped that around some cardstock. I showed this cute little knot tying technique, and I actually cut the ribbon in front of everyone live last week, and I had that left over. So here I've been able to do a little wraparound with the textured ribbon, tie a little knot bow there as well, and that's just stuck down using my Stampin' Seal Plus adhesive. This is my preferred adhesive to use for my scrapbooking for both my photos and my papers, but it does work especially well with textured ribbon to help it stay in place. It's just got that extra oomph with your adhesive. In terms of embellishing, I have used some leftover stickers from the Lovely Blossoms, the Currently Loving Scrapbooking Workshop Kit. I had some of those left over, and I am still yet to create those layouts. So I probably will be featuring those layouts in our next Technique Tuesday Live. So you can see all 3 of those layouts in their entirety. This is the sticker sheet that came in my Scrapbooking Workshop Kit. And in fact, if you purchase the Designer Series paper, Lovely Blossoms, you can get the paper on its own. So I did buy a pack of paper on its own because I already had the sticker sheet in the Scrapbooking Workshop Kit. And typically I make my scrapbooking layouts first, and then I use my leftovers to create extra layouts during the month for these challenges. So I had to go through and just make a little pencil note. So I didn't use stickers that I need to keep for the layouts for the Scrapbooking Workshop Kit. You can purchase the Designer Series paper with the sticker sheet just on its own. That will mean that you will double up on your stickers if you're also going to get the Scrapbooking Workshop Kit. So I have got some stickers there that I can use on some other layouts, and I've popped them on here today, just using some of the Stampin' Dimensionals. And then the little gems, these were an additional purchase, so they do form part of the Lovely Blossoms suite. I do love to add these dots onto my scrapbooking layout. So quite often when I purchase a Scrapbooking Workshop Kit, I will buy the coordinating dots separately because I do really love to accent with little dots or puffy stickers. And these are the Moody Palette Glossy Dots. I've used the white ones on a layout today. So just in groups of 3, just to help finish that off really nicely. But you've also got that in the colour Secret Sea, Old Olive and Cloud Cover. So a number of different colour choices there. But we are here today to share this ink blending technique on the lovely flower accent. So I'm just going to slide this back into my memory protector. Hi Sonia, thanks so much for joining us. Doreen is here as well. Thank you for joining us live, ladies. So that's in my memory protector. I've also added a little 3x3 inch flip flap on here as well. So these photos were taken obviously in Darwin. This was a girls trip that Kayla and I had back in 2021. We took a girls trip for the week up to Darwin for her 20th birthday. And this was the last morning we had in Darwin. We had a little hire car and we just zipped around the city and looked at some of the highlights. I journaled here that Kayla was not really enthralled by doing that. But I had a great time. I love history. I love architecture, old buildings. And so this was really fun. But I've used the flip flap here actually for the photos of the church because this shows the outside. This was the original building. And then this was destroyed during Cyclone Tracy. In fact, I did actually take a photo. Quite often when I'm traveling, I love to take photos of any written sort of murals or information just to help me with my journaling. And quite often I actually incorporate these onto the layout, but I didn't have room to put these on here for this particular week. So for those of you that travel, this is a really great tip for your scrapbooking. So this particular church was damaged during Cyclone Tracy, but also during the Second World War, I do believe as well. So I've used the flip flap here to show the front of the church and then the original up close. And then there's actually a section between the original part of the church and then the church that is used in its current form today, which you can see here. So that's just a great little tip for you if you are incorporating flip flaps onto your page, grouping those photos together with the flip flap just to give continuity and context also to your story, which I love to do with the scrapbooking. So let's get into the technique for today, which is using these covered in flowers accents. These were an additional separate purchase that I made. These coordinate with the suite. As you can see, these die cuts come printed white. Now, I did actually slide them back into the packaging that I had them in because they're laser cut, so they do pop out quite easily once they're opened. But you can see you've got the plain white, and you've got also this sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? It's tinted slightly. There's a word, a particular colour that I'm looking for here, but it's tinted slightly on the back side. You can opt to use obviously whichever side you like. I went for the top side here. Now you can put these accents on your layout just in the white that it's in, or you can actually ink sponge them, which is what I wanted to do for this particular layout this week. And you can see where I've done the technique here already, and then I've stuck them onto my scrapbook layout. But during this live video today, I actually wanted to demonstrate that to you while we were live. And then I'm going to put those remaining accents up the top here on my layout. So I'm just going to grab my Versamat to work on. We'll move this up a little bit so we've got a bit of room here. So I'm just going to use my Versamat. Now, you are definitely going to want to have some of the desk paper. So you can actually purchase this desk paper, any other scrap paper you've got at home as well. You can see where I've already done this yesterday. And I've got my accents that I'm going to use here. I've already punched them out. Now you can see that you've got the inside of the accent that we do actually need to punch out. And I'm going to introduce you, if you've not yet seen this fabulous tool, this is called the Take Your Pick tool. So a couple of things that you could do is you could actually just grab a bin and you can punch out using the pokey bit, very technical terms here, using the pokey bit just to punch that out. And then you can see here that you're going to get your beautiful accent frame. But to save time, we also, when you invest in your Take Your Pick tool, you can purchase the additional Take Your Pick die brush. This is a die brush tip, and then it comes with these foam mats as well. And so I can get my die brush tip and I can run this over anything that I am die cutting out, or in this case, these embellishments here. I can run that over with my die brush tip. Now this is not working as well as it would do with the pokey tool on the end, or perhaps with your die cuts. So these are laser cut, and as you can see, they just need a little bit of extra help in getting those inside pieces out. So you can either do your ink blending first, or you can punch these out as I'm doing first of all with these die cuts, and then ink blend after. That's entirely up to you. In fact, I will say that it probably would be a good idea to keep the inside pieces in, because I did find that yesterday when I was putting this layout together, if your sponge dauber is very wet or very inky, then you can run the risk of inking this too much or wetting it, and then making it soft, and then perhaps the die cut tearing. So you do want to be a little bit careful with that. So I have incorporated 3 colours in. I've got Petal Pink, I've got the Cloud Cover ink pad, and I've also got the Old Olive ink pad. So I use the Old Olive for my leaves. And just a little tip to help you open your ink pad, if you pop your thumbs on the back here where the hinge is and press down, you'll hear that the cover will pop up. Makes it a little bit easier to open, and then you can slide your ink pad back into the tray like that. And then I've got my Sponge Daubers here. So you could also use blending brushes, but for this week I'm introducing you to the Sponge Daubers. You can invest in these in a pack of 5. So I did buy a new pack to be able to demonstrate this to you this week. And I'm going to start with my leaf accent. We're going to do this in the Old Olive. So I love little sponge dauber because it just sits on your finger like so. So we're going to ink that up, and you can take your excess off on your scrap paper if you want to. And all we're going to do is just sponge over the top of these accents. Now, the thing with this is that you don't need to worry so much if it's not perfect, because you can ink over it. You can see this ink is going a really long way just by applying a little bit of pressure. And then, of course, if you're wanting a more darker look with your inking, you can actually ink up a second time and then sponge over that again, okay? So I'm just going to even this up a little bit here. And I don't mind so much that I've got these top leaves a little bit darker where I've started, because that obviously, you know, leaves aren't all the same colour all the way over. So I've got my old olive there like so. And then I am going to do the flowers in a combination of, well, this is actually going to go over the top of my blue. So you know what? I might do 2 in pink, 2 in the petal pink, and then 1 in the blue, just so that stands out a little bit better. Because I did think yesterday, when I did this one here, I felt like the blues were getting a little bit lost. So you could apply a little bit more ink. So let's do the 2 larger ones in the petal pink. It's so fun getting all inky. Okay, so we're just sponging over these floral accents, holding that in place there. So I'm going to do these 2 here in the pink. Just adding some more ink to my sponge dauber there, just to make sure I'm getting some really good coverage on that. Cute. Put a little bit more in the middle there. Cute, cute, cute. The good thing that I love about the sponge daubers, popping these on your fingers, is that you've actually got really good control with them. So if you wanted to, you could actually do different colours. You could do a colour on the inside or leave that white, and then sponge around the outside with a different colour if you wanted to. Let's do that last one in the cloud cover. Now, you can purchase the cloud cover ink pad, but you may recall last year that we did have some quality issues with this particular ink pad. So it was going to be basically a hit or miss as to whether you got an ink pad that was great or an ink pad that wasn't great. Not ideal and not common practice, of course, for Stampin' Up. But I ran the risk of ordering one, and my ink pad is fine. You can also get the re-inkers if you want to. I think from memory it was too late in the piece to pull the colour entirely from the product line by the time that we realised that there was an issue. So there we go. I've got the cloud cover. So I've got 2 there just in the petal pink and 1 in the cloud cover. And let's get them on the layout so you can see how this has turned out really nicely. Just pop that one to the side there like so. Excuse me. And then let's take this one out of the cover there. All right. So I'm just going to pop my layout on the Versamat. And now I've got my green little floral, so I have to decide which way I want this to go. What have I done? Yeah, let's do it like that. And then I can pop my pink one up the top there like that. And I might even do another leaf. So because this has got quite a large area here for adhesive, I'm just going to use my Stampin' Seal Plus just to put some little strips of adhesive on these leaves. You could use your glue dots, you could use Stampin' Dimensionals, whatever works for you. So we're just going to pop that on there like so and stick that down. And then on the back here with the little flowers, I'm going to pop a tiny little bit in the middle here. And then I'm just going to turn that over so we don't see that adhesive from the back side. Into the middle of my little flowers there. Perfect. Oh, this one here. Sorry, girls, I didn't have that in the camera there for a second. Sometimes, like, you're so focused on what's going on there in front of you. Perfect. And then we can stick this down. Let's go this way. We'll just cover that little green bit there at the back. Cute. Excellent. And that is all done. Now, we're also going to put a few more of the dots here. I don't have my tweezers at the moment, and it is absolutely doing my head in. I do not know how anyone does anything with nails without tweezers. Miss Kayla borrowed my tweezers. Let's turn the other end of my Take Your Pick tool around and use the spatula here, girls. That's going to make it much easier. I don't know how anyone does anything with nails without having any sort of tweezers. It's been driving me crazy. Miss Kayla, if you are watching, I hope you found my tweezers. She borrowed them and she needs to find them. So I'm using this spatula in the meantime, which, you know, does the trick. But when you're used to using something a certain way, you do really miss it. So we're just going to pop some of those little dots on there. And then let's bring the layout here back into the full view so we can see that finished result there. Ta-da! I am super happy with that. So that is this week's Technique Tuesday ink blending with your Stampin' Pads and your Sponge Daubers. I hope that you have found this helpful today, ladies, and I cannot wait to see what you create with this week for your weekly scrapbooking challenge. I will drop links in the comments below after I post this video, and a friendly reminder that Facebook deletes this video after 30 days, but you will be able to play catch up on my YouTube channel. I like to download the videos and then load them to my YouTube, and you can also find links to all my content in the My Project section of my website, scrapbookingwithsarahshipton.stampinup.net. Thanks for watching live or in replay, ladies. Have a great week. And for those of you that are coming to my January 24 workshop this week, I can't wait to see you. If you have not booked in, I do have a few seats left. So please contact me ASAP and I can book you in. Thanks for watching. Have a great week, everyone. Bye for now.